down after, I think it's like 30 days. Will this be like an actual recording as well that you guys will be able to maintain?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
You're up and running now.
You see the light on it.
All eyes are on.
Oh, yeah, I know that's on, I just. Yes and no.
Okay.
Apparently that has a little battery, so Melissa ran to grab a battery, but this is up, so we should be good to go. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, well, it's about 6:38, we'll call the meeting to order, we'll do a roll call. Councilperson Holthoff? Yes. Councilperson Bennett?
Yes.
Councilperson Basket?
Here.
Councilperson Light? Here. We'll stand and say I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did we have anybody sign this? Okay, now we'll go into the public input, and the limit is 3 minutes per person, and public input should be only what is on the agenda for tonight. Well, first up, Sharon Lehman.
I don't think it's on the agenda, but I only get the agenda when I walk in here, so I just am asking for clarification on the ordinance changed last meeting on the chickens. We are in January, and I want to have some chickens this spring, but I need to make a coop, and I don't want to put money into a coop if you're not going to allow them, so I'd like the council to move forward on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. James Warnke.
James Warnke, 2675 Madison Lane. I guess just have a question about recordings. Is this, so this is, you're going to be recording this, is this video or just audio?
Should be both.
Okay, and then are you planning on putting those on the website, or is that something that we'll still have to request as,
I believe, my understanding that council has discussed this, and it will be live streamed after the council meeting.
okay. I guess that pretty much covers what I wanted to ask tonight, I think.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We will move on and take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. We will vote. Councilperson Bendel.
Yes.
Councilperson Light.
Yes.
Councilperson Baskin.
Yes.
Councilperson Holbach.
Yes.
Staff reports. Trent, do you have an update or, okay,
No, just a written report.
okay. Assistant Chief McDonough.
Here. You guys have the quarterly report in the council packet. I'll do a run through on that, and then I got a couple of talking points that we can cover off, and you guys can after we get there, so. As of the end of 2024, we had 141 total calls to service. You can see the breakdown of that in your council packet. So 6 structure fires, 5 vehicle fires, 6 grass fires, 1 trash fire, 20 vehicle accidents, 90 EMS incidents, 4 fire alarms, 1 hazmat incident, 3 police assists, 5 public assistance, and no carbon monoxides in 24, surprisingly. Mutual aid to every department was 11 different calls, and we received mutual aid once. So average calls over the last 5 years, you can see is 134. This year was 141. Prior to us taking on EMS, our average was somewhere near 70 calls. So since we started that program, calls have doubled, so we're basically at 101% increase on call volumes since taking on the EMS at the building across the parking lot. Some of the things I'll touch with on that is as far as EMS staffing goes, so obviously we have our firefighter 1 certified folks and hazmat operations certified people. We have a couple newer members that are working on getting into a class to get certified now. EMS update, last year when I was here giving a quarterly report, we were talking about some of the EMT training that we were embarking on to get some more members trained up. We now have 19 EMS certified members on the department out of a department of 23 members. So 8 are EMR level certified, 9 are EMT, and that's either an EMT B or A level certification. We have 2 medics or above certified, and we have 2 in progress that are working on finishing up their EMT right now. So it's 19 members that have some sort of medical certification across the street, and we started with 0. So some things that have come up in 24, just to bring to your attention that we've discussed internally and abroad. So medical calls for service outside of our district, both as a primary responder and or an assisted response. And what I mean by that is not City of Urbana, not Polk Township. So surrounding communities that may not have, or obviously don't have, medical response like we are able to provide here. We started getting a lot of calls from other places as the primary response. So whether that came from dispatch or came from the ambulance transport service or whoever, somebody that worked with us before, basically auto called us to those calls. And we had enough of that go on that we had to have a conversation with everybody and explain that, it's gonna sound bad, but that's not our job. It's not fair to the taxpayers of Urbana and Polk Township, right? Because you guys are all footing the bill for that. And us to be the primary to go somewhere in Benton or Shelter or somewhere in between, it shouldn't be on everybody's nickel in here, the way it's set up right now. So we've had those conversations and it has subsided for now. What else comes along with that is burnout. So we're already running double the calls of what we were running before in volunteer service, and it's a lot of time, a lot of people going all the time, and if we have to go to places that we aren't supposed to be or necessarily need to be, that wears a lot of people out. So you get to the end of the year, and I think probably Trent can attest to it, probably in August we thought we were probably headed to over 200 calls easily. At that time we thought we were going to hit 200 or 250 calls, and then everything kind of blowed up there. So those were some of the things that we had to address throughout the year, and I'm not advocating that you put us out to bid to go run in Shelter or Benton, because we don't need the extra call volume, but I want to make sure you guys are aware that that some of that was starting to happen quite regularly. And, we had discussions with the appropriate parties and, it has gotten much better. So, anyway, we're gonna start the year with 23 members. Like I said, 2 in progress, trying to finish up their EMT. And, you know, everything is really business as usual, but the majority of the time we're spending now is heavy medical related. And the dependence on us right now for some of the calls are, and you can't classify them as one is more important than the other. But there's a lot of calls that, and it's probably the same way in Cedar Rapids, and probably the same way in Iowa City, and probably the same way in North Liberty, that a lot of these people should probably get in their car and go to the doctor, and are capable of. But we don't get to make that choice. Pager goes and we go. And so we see a lot of that. But we'll keep continuing on, and that's kind of where we sit today. Questions, comments, concerns?
So with the new revenue for the ambulance, the levy that the county, have there been any discussions if that's something we're gonna have
So,
any contribution from?
I think the answer is yes. At first, there was some scuttlebutt going around that the city of Urbana decided that they didn't want that money. And then when we heard that, we're like, where'd you hear that at? And figured out that that was false rumor running around. So it's been discussed. I don't know if you've heard more about it in recent time, but it's been discussed at the E911 meetings and different things. I don't know how they're deploying it yet.
We're gonna get some, but I don't know the ratio of what we're gonna get. Obviously, the 3 transporting ambulance services in that county are gonna get the majority of the funding. I don't know that they came up with a good way to break down, how the rest of the first responder services are gonna get that. I don't know if they have a formula for that. Last I heard, they were gonna basically use it as a reimbursement platform for trade or specific piece of equipment outside of the transporting ambulance services. So I think there's a lot of thoughts there yet on the county's board.
Yeah. If they're basing it off of call volume, I don't think there's another department in the county that runs more calls than we do now. Including, you know, city of Mid and Proper. I'm positive we run more calls a year than they run now. And we used to probably be somewhere in the middle of the pack, maybe towards the bottom of the pack as far as how many calls we were running here. So as far as potential need with wearing out equipment and, you know, all the medical stuff is extremely expensive and has expiration dates and all the things go along with it. So we'll stay in on that until we figure out what it's going to be. We just don't know what it is yet.
I think I just had when Mitch was talking about some of the stuff we were going through out of our district for EMS calls. So that for fire response, years and years ago, all departments in the county and the communities signed a 2080 agreement that we're bound to provide fire apparatus, fire suppression apparatus and personnel to other departments in the county if they request it, and we are likewise. We're not bound by any 2080 agreement for emergency medical service for the reason Mitch was talking about, and as leadership at the department, if we're going to continue to run those calls outside of our district, ultimately that needs to come down to the city of Urbana and Polk Township trustees, because they should be recouping some costs for that, and we wouldn't advocate for it anyway, because as Mitch talks about it, our guys are running enough, we're busy.
Yeah. And
We're doing what we can do here, but we're busy.
Yeah. So, don't know that that'll come up. But as you know, we've talked about this for many, many years here, is volunteering and elected officials and things, that group of people wanes every year more and more and more, and some of the certifications and things that you have to do to maintain the ability to be a volunteer, which sounds crazy. They're pretty wild in some cases. So these surrounding areas that are struggling now, it's probably not gonna get better for them. So it wouldn't surprise me that you guys hear from some of those people eventually with an ask of some sort.
welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Let's see, we have a written report from Benton County for police calls. Jerry has submitted a written report for building inspector. And we're down to the city administrator. You have a verbal update.
Yes, I actually do have a verbal update. So I would first, I could probably address the, audio video recording. It has been the council's, direction to be able to record or audio the, council meetings. Back in the previous session when we were doing cameras, and we were doing that through Hawkeye Communication, I actually had reached out to them about getting us a quote for just the council chambers. And that quote came in, I would say significantly higher than what I maybe even anticipated. I knew it would be high, but I think, and you guys can correct me, I think it was between 12 and 14,000. Just for the capability in this room to record, live stream, do all the things, so that it was also then connected to the camera system. Because I did not have that amount shared with you and in the budget, I wanted to look for other alternatives, which is how we have our friend, the owl, is actually what it's called. Significantly cheaper, but it will get us by, and we will be videotaping. I did let the council and the mayor know. I did not put out the link for tonight. This is the first time that we're testing it, so of course I didn't want to put something out there and then it not work and then get negative feedback. So, so we do have it up. It looks to me like it is recording. So in this event, we will live stream, and the platform that we will use is YouTube, and that information will be shared with the public. As soon as we know that it's recording like it should, these videos will be stored on YouTube. I will also share links in on the website, so if people go to the website, you will see links there as well. And we will continue to audio, obviously, the meetings. We had a little snafu that for some reason our audio recorder tonight was saying low battery when it's been plugged in for a month. So it's recording fine now. Melissa went and got a battery here. So that's kind of where we are with the video recordings. We likely will not at this time be live streaming to Facebook or social media. The platform that we will use will be YouTube, and I'll get into a bit of an issue that we had with setting up the YouTube. So that's my update on that. I could probably answer Sherry Lehman's question, that the ordinance that was just recently passed the ordinance to allow a permit process to begin. The council's next step will be reviewing the permit process, and we have members who are actively reviewing the permit process, so that we do hope to have that available, so that residents of Urbana will hopefully be able, maybe by spring, to have chickens. So that's where the permit process is. The permit's being under review. It's my understanding before I got here, there was a lot of work on a permit or similar type process that I think was a bit restrictive, and that's why we're reviewing it to see if it could possibly be maybe not as restrictive, but that will be the process that the council will go through next, if that answers your question. Next, I have a couple outstanding issues that I just want to continue to keep the council and the mayor abreast of, and that is some of the outstanding issues that we've had The first one I wanted to bring forth, and I'll tell you why. Previously, when I first started my position here, there were complaints made to the Iowa Public Information Board, and those were formal complaints made against me and against the city of Urbana. And those complaints came from 5 individuals, that those were dismissed. I'm bringing this up because some of the final attorney costs are coming through for those types of things. The formal complaints were made, and they were then dismissed. And that particular incident with the Iowa Public Information Board, attending meetings and doing the information with the attorney, has cost the city just under $4,000 in attorney fees alone. That does not capture the amount of time that the office here has worked on those specific complaints. And I will bring up why that is an issue again. We also had some misinformation that was shared last year in probably May, I believe, that was shared about the water storage tank, regarding information that from the DNR, from the Department of Natural Resources, who is a big player in our work that we're doing right now with the water storage tank. The misinformation was shared out then to the public, and Mr. Kramer and I from Public Works had to meet with a representative from the DNR to go through all of the screenshots and misinformation that was being shared with the public. And through that meeting, we then went and put out a post on our website, and we gathered all the factual information and shared every document to the public so that there was no need to do a record request for that information. And we felt that it was we felt that it was necessary to now share this so that the public was aware of the factual information that they needed to hear. And I just wanted to encourage people that when the city has information, that they actually get that information straight from the urbanaiowa.com website to ensure that they're getting the facts. That takes me to the next issue that we had. Just recently here in December, the Department of Natural Resources, the DNR, showed up at City Hall again, and they have a requirement for all complaints that are filed at the DNR that they need to investigate these complaints. There was a complaint that was anonymous that was sent to the DNR, and it was the Urbana City Hall does not always wait for garbage pickup, and they take the bags of garbage home and burn them at home, and none of us are allowed to burn. City Hall is located at 102 Capitol Avenue, Urbana, phone number 319-443-2400. The individual showed up from the DNR, which Melissa and I were happy to go through the investigation process with her, which I believe I shared with you immediately when the complaint came through, and that I was involved in an investigation with the DNR. The statement came back from the DNR that the complaint was not legitimate. This is concerning because, as you know, the DNR had to use resources to come to City Hall to investigate, and then our time, as well as Melissa's time, had to be used to engage in, which we were happy to do, but engage in an investigation about Melissa and I taking garbage home from City Hall and burning it at our homes, which is clearly not the case. And again, this investigation then happened on December 17th, 2024. Obvious costs involved would be the resources with the DNR, and then the time and Melissa and I to go through this investigation. I feel it's important that we start sharing these things with the public and at the public meeting with all of you, because these types of issues take up a large amount of time in our office to do the work that we actually need to get done. But these are obviously requirements that are to be done by us because the DNR takes complaints extremely serious. The Iowa Public Information Board is a board that is created for the purpose of people who are hiding information or not sharing information accurately with the public. And those accusations were made against the city of Urbana and also against myself. And this, I will be posting the dismissal orders so that this is something that the public can review so they can see exactly what the claims were and how it was handled so that everyone knows that the people in this office or the city of Urbana or the mayor are not hiding information. I also have on here, which takes me to the next item that I would like to address, and that is there was an email that was created that is urbanaiowa@gmail.com.
That's mine.
This email has the name, it's particularly an issue because the email has been set up so that the first name appears as Urbana. The last name appears as Iowa. Therefore, when the email comes to a recipient, it comes from Urbana, Iowa. And it shows the email, urbanaiowa@gmail.com. The city of Urbana owns the domain urbanaiowa.com. This is an issue because, for example, to live stream a video on YouTube, the city has to have a Google account. The city is not able to use the urbanaiowa@gmail.com address. Therefore, we had to create a different email that notifies that it is an official email. I then put out a statement on our website, and I did this because I feel that this is a genuine concern for people in our community. I felt this way and shared it with the council as well as the mayor. I did this because if we have elderly people or people who are not as tech savvy, when the email comes to an inbox, it shows that it's coming from Urbana, Iowa, and not from a specific individual.
It is from Urbana, Iowa. I live here. You don't own it.
Therefore, this issue was also escalated to our attorney at the city level because there has also been another incident and this email has been used for open records requests. Again, not an issue other than the fact that we have no control over who is sending the email or where it's coming from. So by rights, the Google terms and services do say that we can report this to Google for trade infringement because we own urbanaiowa.com. The issue that, again, is coming is that we cannot control where these emails are sent. So if someone else uses the email in the community and it's sent to other people, it is deceptive in that it says it's coming from Urbana, Iowa, and does not have a signature that is released in the email, and it does not have a name associated with it other than Urbana, Iowa, which, of course, urbanaiowa.com belongs to Urbana, Iowa, the city of Urbana. On Tuesday, December 17th, I sent an email to Troy Burkhart, the Department of Transportation, and the Superintendent, John Elkin. I did this because when I came to work at 7:10 in the morning and turned onto Capitol Avenue, I noticed that there was a school bus parked in our fire lane just over here. I waited
In the
and
parking lot.
The school, you were not in the parking lot.
That's a parking lot right
Okay.
there. I just want you to know,
No.
you told her, she told my boss that I was stalking her essentially. And my first stop is right over
She
here.
has the
And
floor.
I was a minute ahead because the weather was
She
bad.
has the floor.
Whatever.
Right.
So this was reported. It was reported because this is where our fire emergency vehicles exit in the morning. And there was a school bus parked in the lane, not in our parking lot. Not in our community parking lot, not behind our building. I kindly reported it and said that this is twofold. That we cannot have a school bus that is parked in an emergency lane because it is in the way of our emergency vehicles exiting the building. Number two, I also said that the individual that I believe to be in the school bus, and I provided pictures.
Is Regina Warnke, that's what you said to my boss.
She has the floor.
She is defaming me and she's going public
No.
trying to
Okay,
accuse me of stalking her.
that's enough. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd just like to note that I've been interrupted 3 times now. Okay. So I did send this, and I sent it to the school because obviously it's a Center Point Urbana school bus. I took the pictures and I also attached the pictures to the email. I did identify the individual that I believed was the person driving the bus. I also indicated in the email that the person driving the bus also tends to like to point out when the employees at City Hall come to work and leave work. I then was posted, I then said to the school district that I was requesting that if someone has the time to sit in a city school, or excuse me, the school bus and sit idle, there's no reason why that individual could not sit across the road at the intermediate building. And when so then I did receive an email back. I let the mayor know, I let a council member know, and then I also forwarded the emails to city council as well as the mayor, letting them know that I went ahead and contacted the school, which is well within my role as the city administrator. I also wanted to make sure that if something could be done, that it should be done, and it should be done immediately. Because oftentimes there are calls by our fire department, not only for medical calls, but fire calls as well, and that's not necessary for a school bus to park in our lane. At this time, I did receive an email back from Troy Burkhart. He did let me know that he had received my email. He also said that if there was a particular request such as this, that I go ahead and have that information go through the mayor and the city council. I indicated in my email that I was trying to avoid this coming to a public meeting, hence the reason why I sent the email. I was then told that the particular person, after reviewing the video and the bus, had been parked at the school at 2 separate occasions, and indicated, the video indicated the day that I had emailed the school. I was then later notified that a memo and an email was sent out and that they would like to stay informed if there were any buses that would continue to park in the fire lane, and that I should email or call them, and provided the information. I wanted to let you know about this publicly as well, because there's been an open records request for this particular thread of emails. And that will be shared with the individual. But the reason why I also wanted to put this in here is because when the open records request came in from this individual, I responded back and I said there was no email available from Troy Burkhardt or myself on the dates that were requested. The request dates were October 11 through October 16th, something like that. I don't have it right in front of me. And I responded to the individual and I said there are not records available. I received an email back that said, I would like to know why you're refusing to give me emails. I wrote back to the individual and I said, I am not refusing to give emails. I am simply responding to your request and there are no records. Again, indicating the individual had the wrong dates on the request. I received another email back again saying that I was being vague and insinuating that I was being untruthful. That was not the case. I then decided I wasn't going to allow it to consume any more of my time in the day. 8 hours later, I received another email stating for the open records request that the person realized they had the wrong dates for the request. And now I am happy to provide that request. The reason why I bring that up is because it is the same person who filed the Iowa Public Information Board formal complaints against me in the city of Urbana not long after I started last year. I want the council and the public to be aware that I am not refusing any information to the public or to the city council or anyone else, and that I'm simply trying to prioritize the important business that I have to do in this office. So I apologize if my city administrator update has gone a little longer, but I do feel that this information is important to get out, not only to all of our council and the mayor, but also to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the city engineer has a written report update, so that'll finish the staff reports. And we have, I want to jump to new business because she's got a lot of things going on, so I want to go down to item F on the new business. Update on the special election with Gina Edwards from the Benton County Auditor's Office.
Okay, Gina, first of all, thank you for coming. Gary and I do appreciate it. You can come right up here. So Gary and I actually called Gina, and we've been in close communication since we had a petition filed with us regarding the vacancies for the 2 council positions. And Gina has kindly decided that she can come and speak with us tonight. We want the public to be as well aware of the process that's going to happen for filling these positions for the council vacancy. Because there were 2 at different times, you're going to talk about how it will be specified on the ballot, but also the information that our public needs to do paperwork for those positions and how that's going to work. So I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, so I'm the deputy auditor for the county. I've been doing elections for several years. I wanted to just kind of clear the air because we're going to be the filing officer. Normally in a regular city school election, I have the city clerks be the filing officer, but I just thought with everything going on, we would take on that ownership in our office. Since you guys do have the 2 vacancies, one expires in 2025. With that meaning, because vacancies are kind of confusing in general anyways, but what happens is that vacancy, because I don't know if you guys made the formal motion of the date yet.
We're doing that after,
Okay,
actually.
so what I'm going to be talking about is insinuating that you guys are going to approve this date. So you're going to have the special election in February. That person would run, people will run for that February position. They will have to rerun for that position of the 2025 for the November election. So I want that to be clear. But since you have 2, one ending in 2025 and the other one ending in 2027, they will be separately listed on the ballot. They will be specified as term ending in 2025, term ending in 2027. With that being said, when people are filing their paperwork, that paperwork has to be specific and stating those dates. What the Secretary of State's office says, because I forwarded that information on to Gary and Jennifer there, is if it is not specified, it goes on to the later date. So what that means, if people don't specify that it's the 2025 one, it's going to be assumed that it's the 2027 one. So if people don't have those dates correctly written on that paperwork, it's all going to be put on for one race. So that's where I do want to make that crucial to know. So what I did do, I didn't know.
Jeanette, can they be put down for both? So, for example, can they be put down for the one position that ends term 2025, and then if they don't get that, can they be put on?
I'd have to look up the code, but I don't believe you can be listed twice on the ballot.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that was a question.
Yeah, so I do have examples, I mean, they're just pretty vague examples of what the paperwork is. And I do have, actually paperwork, if anybody wants to take out papers, I have those here as well. But I do have examples of how it should be listed. So I just did 2 candidates for each, the 25 and 27. But on this second paper, if anybody hasn't filled out paperwork to file for offices before, there's an affidavit of candidacy. This can be filled out legally in my office. The other one is the nomination petition. This top portion has to be filled out legally before the people sign this paperwork. So if someone comes to my office and this is not filled out and they have petitions and signatures here, it is rejected. They can't go back into the rotunda and fill out the top, because it's not insinuating what those people are signing for. So that is specific in the Iowa code. So just make sure that is well known. So that's the reason I wanted to make sure they both match, 2025 or 2027. They are both written as vacancies, so those check boxes have to be marked as well. So, like I said, I do have several copies if you want to see what they look like, but if there's any questions or concerns, please call our office and we can go over that stuff with you.
What's the minimum amount of signatures needed for this?
It is 10. We always recommend, I don't know if you guys want more, I can give, like I said, I did 8 copies.
This is the paperwork that we need to fill out.
Yeah, correct. And I don't know if the council. So, like I said, I brought, I didn't know how many people were interested, so this is the paperwork that you would have to fill out and turn into my office. There's 6 copies. I have on there the filing deadline. Sorry. Yep. The filing deadline, assuming that the dates that was told to me today is going to be approved, and the minimum number of signatures. So, does that cover what you guys?
But before we get the signatures, we need to come into your office. And
No, so the top page of the affidavit of candidacy, that can be filled out in my office when you file papers. The top portion of the nomination petition has to be filled out before you get signatures. The reason for that is if you're going around getting people's signatures, technically they don't know what they're signing or what you're running for. So that is the reason that needs to be filled out before you're getting signatures. We always recommend getting more than is required, because someone could contest a name and have it rejected, and that goes into a whole nother legal matter. So the filing deadline is 25 days before the election by Iowa code. So that's why, like I said, assuming that you guys are going to make that motion, that would be January 31st. The Iowa code in this special election pretense does not specify that we have to stay open till 5 o'clock. So that would be at the close of business, which is 4:30 at the courthouse. And we're on the 2nd floor.
Jaden,
Yes.
the legality of the signatures, who verifies those signatures?
I would, or in my office. Since that's why I wanted to take on the responsibility. I wanted to take that away from the city clerk and administration. I'll just take that on, and that way I'll be looking at those. I'm the filing officer for this election. In a normal city election, I usually have the cities because, you know, I have so many cities in the county. It's easier for someone to go to that city. You guys are just not lucky enough that I've just designated our office to do that for this election. So there's just a lot of different variables in this election, so that's the reason I just thought it'd be easier if we took on that responsibility for you guys.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who you handed them to, but can we get the extra copies?
Yep,
too?
I was gonna make
Because-
those for you.
Yep, any extra copies, because we have other people that may want those.
Oh, these are the examples.
Not the examples.
These are the
Did you get
actual-
extra copies?
That's
Yeah,
my-
like whatever.
Before-
These are
before-
just and turn it in.
You'll fill out that, take it in for.
Do you have additional copies that you're holding? Because we
No,
have other
those are
people
both.
in the room that.
No, these are
These
the
are the
extra
extras?
Yeah, and these are the examples.
Perfect.
So I didn't know if you wanted to leave those at the city office, if people wanted to take a look at the examples and that sort of thing, but the affidavit of candidacy and the nomination petition is also available on the Secretary of State's website. And once I find out, once I get the petition and that sort of thing, I can put all the necessary documentation on our election website as well.
Thank you.
We should get that too this week.
Tomorrow.
I was gonna say, you
Talk
guys
about
were gonna do it tomorrow
We're
morning.
gonna file it tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning,
The
you guys
petition will
will
be
talk about
filed tomorrow morning, yeah.
What time?
I open at 8 here.
So I also have already shared with Gina, I sent her, the example, social media post and website post that the city will put out, which will have all the links that anyone will need. Also indicating all the contact information for Gina's office, as well as, the links, I think, to the Secretary of State, all of that. So, we've reviewed it, so I think the only thing left to add in there is the discussion of the date, which is what they'll do next.
As I say, yeah, it'll just be, once I get the date, I can go on with my vendor and that sort of thing. Because they turn in the petition tomorrow, they actually don't have to legally give it to me, or the minimum requirement to give me notice for an election is 32 days. When I was talking to them earlier today, I was encouraging that we give the public more time, because especially with you having 2 races on there, I don't want to be last minute rejecting papers and having, minimum signatures is 10 signatures, but still, it leaves people a little upset at me. So if we can get more information out there and give the public that much more time to get the paperwork settled and get that situated, so.
Any more questions for Gina?
Just one thing, Gina, somebody who has Parkinson's disease and cannot legibly write their name.
However they write it. That's how elections go. If someone's filling out paperwork, it's just however they write it. They can use an X, it's just however they sign their name. Dittos are acceptable, but it's, try to encourage people to not use dittos when they're filling out the nomination petition, so it makes my job easier.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to old business. I may consider resolution 2025-75, sex card policy revised from 2022-16.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been motion second to approve that, resolution 2025-75. We'll vote. Councilperson White.
Yes.
Councilperson Bendel.
Yes.
Councilperson, Baskey.
Yes.
And Councilperson Holmes.
Yes.
Consider resolution 2025-78 to appoint Emily Taylor to the Park and Playground Board.
I would make a motion to approve 2025-78 to appoint Emily Taylor to the Parks and Playground Board.
Second.
Been moved and second to, for resolution 2025-70, or -78. So vote, Councilperson Bendel,
Yes.
Councilperson Light,
Yes.
Councilperson, Holthouse.
Yes.
And Councilperson Vasky.
Yes.
Item C, consider resolution 2025-79 to approve professional service agreement number 1 for Hall Engineering.
It should say amendment number 1. So all this is, so we routinely look at our billing rates and, occasionally we will raise rates just like everybody else. And we've decided this year to raise our rates. First time we've done it in 3 years, and it was 5 years before that. So, what this is, we have a general services agreement for our engineering services that don't necessarily fall under a specific project like the tanker booster, but just the general engineering day-to-day type of work that we do hourly. So this will adjust the rates that we normally charge for this.
So thank you for that. So if you guys caught that, I wrote agreement by accident, and it should say amendment number 1.
It doesn't change any of the other terms.
No.
Motion approved.
Second.
Been moved and second to approve resolution 2025-79. So vote, Councilperson Vasky,
Yes.
Councilperson Light,
Yes.
Councilperson Bendel,
Yes.
Councilperson Holthouse.
Yes.
Consider resolution 2025-83 to approve the Iowa DOT agreement for services to provide grooming to snowmobile trails along the highways.
So this is just our annual agreement with the DOT, so nothing changed in there. You had that attached, so.
So I'm assuming that they're talking about Highway 150 and maybe part of Sunset.
Yeah, it was on the map, I think.
Yeah.
Here it goes around, because it used to be the trail.
Sorry, I didn't print the map. I don't have it in front of me, but it was attached.
Okay.
And I think they highlighted all of the specific areas within the map.
Make the motion approved.
Been moved and second to approve resolution 2025-83. So vote, Councilperson Bendel,
Yes.
Councilperson Vasky,
Yes.
Councilperson Light,
Yes.
Councilperson Holthouse.
Yes.
Item E, consider resolution 2025-81 to accept and approve Iowa DNR REAP grant for the phase 1 pollinator garden of $75,000.
Okay, so, I think I already let all of you know that we did put together the grant and we did receive the 100% grant dollars, which was $75,000. We were the top grant in the state, and we actually just have the acceptance and approval of the contract, and we can move forward. We'll be working again with Hall and Hall and our Parks Board, our newly appointed Parks Board, to move forward with our phase 1 of the pollinator garden.
This whole amount for all phases?
Nope, this is just phase 1.
Phase one.
Yep, and the phase 1, which I can get that to you, obviously you don't have that. There's 2 maps. Part of phase 1 includes not only the pollinator at the lot that is on the corner of Union and Wood Street, but also an area at Central Crossing Park that will have part of that as well. I think it was called in our grant, the rain garden, I believe, is part of the phase 1. And we'll coordinate that with the installation of the new playground equipment and the work being done at Crossing Park.
A motion to approve resolution 2025-81.
Second.
Been moved and second to approve resolution 2025-81. We'll vote. Councilperson Holthouse,
Yes.
Councilperson Light,
Yes.
Councilperson Vasky,
Yes.
and Councilperson Bendel.
Yes.
New business.
Hey, Mayor, we forgot library report.
Oh.
Carrie's here.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Katie.
Library update.
December was a huge month STEM projects, story time, movie, book club. We hosted Santa Claus with the Lions Club and the 4-H Cloverbuds. And also, ISU Extension Office is now doing monthly STEM meetings or activities at the library. 403 patrons in December, 253 books checked out. We now have online reservations active, so people who want to check out a book, they can just stop and grab it by the door on their way home from work. And I'm also now planning a great summer reading program for this year.
And you have any of that coming up?
We do also, yes, I wrote that down. We're gonna have a soup supper hosted by the Friends February 1st in the community center to raise money for the programming this year.
For your summer program, are you taking donations for prizes? Is that kind of what you're
We just talked about this last night. We're going to send out a letter. I've got some little weekly prizes, but we will need prizes for the end of the program.
And you said the soup supper was
February 1st.
2-1, and it's here at the community center?
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, or Karen? No, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. 17 activities at the lot.
Now we go to new business. Consider resolution 2025-76 to approve the City of Urbana petty cash policy.
Okay, so, I shared this with you ahead of time. This is something that, so we had the auditors here again in December. So in March, fiscal year 23 was the audit in March. They came in March because of March of 2024 to do the fiscal year 23 because we didn't have a clerk in place with the scheduled time that they were supposed to be here. So we went through that auditor visit, and then the auditors were back here in December for the fiscal year 24 audit, which in itself was a lot. We had I would say, few recommendations, but one of the recommendations, which the audit has not been shared publicly yet because we have not had an exit interview and there hasn't even been given a draft report to the city yet. So this is just being proactive in a couple of the things that they gave us, which the first one obviously was the Urbana does not have a petty cash policy. Sorry, excuse me, I was drawing a blank. We do not have a policy, so it was simple enough that I grabbed a couple samples. So what you actually have is a sample of a policy that's a little bit of like center point, and then I can't even remember the other one that was given to me. And so I put that together in a draft, so if you have feedback for the policy before you take to the resolution, I'm open to any revisions that you may have or questions. Again, we didn't have one for the city of Urbana previously, so this is new. And just so the public knows, the city does have a petty cash. It's $150. It's reconciled daily, and at the end of the month, really we have so little cash that comes through our office that it's really just to make change for someone that comes in to pay a utility bill by cash. Sometimes, what would be another reason? I mean, that would really be it. Unless somebody, we're gonna pay cash for the community center and need change. And with utility billing, a lot of the times, if it's just pennies or a couple dollars, sometimes people just ask that they have a credit placed on their bill. So, So again, that's, the petty cash policy and a resolution.
I don't really have any concerns with what's listed, so.
It's pretty consistent. I motion to approve 2025-76. I would second.
Been moved and second to approve resolution 2025-76. Roll call, Councilperson Holthouse.
Yes.
Councilperson Baskin.
Yes.
Councilperson Light.
Yes.
Councilperson Bendel.
Yes.
Item B, consider resolution 2025-80 to file plan specification form and contract opinion of public cost, set time and date for public hearing, and set time and date to receive bids for the 2025 pump house and site improvements.
Okay, I will ask, Matt Johnson if you would like to say anything regarding, the submission of the final plan specifications. Those will be what we will keep here.
Yeah.
Just like we did for the water storage tank,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So we will have those on file. An example, I think, right in front of you, if you don't mind just pointing to it. I printed off the information that was previously given, all the files, specs, contracts, probable cost, all of that information when it was provided from Matt. I printed it off, made copies available here. So we'll do that process again, for the pump house. So tonight, I would propose that, we do the public hearing at the next regular scheduled meeting, which would be February. Anybody?
Yes.
Is that right, February 12th? Okay. And we would just do that at 6:30 like we normally do, if that works for you.
Yep.
I'll motion to approve 2025-80.
And so we'll set, is that okay to set
It's in
it?
the resolution, so I'll
Yep.
do that,
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve resolution 2025-80. Vote. Who made the motion? Okay. Councilperson Light.
Yes.
Councilperson Holthouse.
Yes.
Councilperson Basky.
Yes.
And Councilperson Bendel.
Yes.
Item C, property at 318 Wood Street West, UC2 zoning district.
Okay. So, just 1 second, I think I just hid the email that I had from. Okay, so we have, I believe that I included with, your agenda packet. I included the property in question, that was, what was the address again? Wood Street?
Yeah, 318 West Wood Street.
Yes, thank you. So the property has been purchased, which some people call this is it the old hardware store? The old hardware store. So I enclosed the beacon for you, and also our outdated planning and zoning ordinance, pages 19, 20, 21, and 22. And I'm going to just have Matt help me on this. So when this was purchased, the owner had reached out to Jerry, the building inspector, regarding the permit, because the purchase of the building right now, the plan is a can redemption center. And so what we need to do, because our planning and zoning is just a bit outdated, we need to approve or have a discussion or not approve the consideration of this as a C1, or excuse me, C2, is that right? The C2
I believe so.
as one of the above named uses and conforms to the intent of this section. So if you go to page 21, the C2, it says include everything from C1 for C2. And because this is outdated, there is not a specific example of a can redemption listed, but it does meet the requirement of retail service. What else did you say?
I think it's reasonably consistent with the types of uses that are allowed. I would definitely think if it makes a lot more sense in a light industrial district. It's probably more consistent with those uses. So I think what we're really trying to look at is, so there's a list of permitted uses within the zoning ordinance, and this is typical. And it's pretty typical that you're not gonna hit everything in there. But the idea is, and I think it even says so in the zoning ordinance, is that the council can determine that the proposed land use is consistent with the types of uses listed in there. And so I think that's the decision to be made as to whether that can redemption center fits that type of description.
Yeah. And I know, so the other piece of this is, I know that the individual has also reached out about wanting to change something with the storefront in terms of the door, looking to have possibly the appearance of a garage door or something like that. And that would be for the loading, unloading of cans. I just want to be clear because I know the person has talked maybe to some of you, I'm not sure, in the room, but so tonight it's just to approve that redemption center would actually fall into the category of a redemption center is okay, not the issue of, which will come with the building permit if they decide they would change the front, which then I believe that will be another discussion because a garage door type on a storefront in our downtown maybe likely is not okay, but tonight I think it's just to move forward with, does a can redemption meet the requirements of our zoning? And if it does, then we would do that motion, and then obviously an issue of something else needing to be done with the door would come with not getting a permit for that type of door. Does that make sense? Sorry, this is kind of lengthy and...
They have to go through planning and zoning too.
Right. But I'm not sure, because it's a garage door type, I'm not sure that they would even get the permit to do that.
I'm not sure what you're asking us to approve tonight. You're asking us to approve that this could be, that we would consider a can redemption shed, what it's, or a can redemption center, what it's zoned for now as a C1.
Right, as a C1, it includes C1 and C2.
C2 is the zone.
Because a C2 is what it's zoned, but in order to meet the requirement of a C2, it also includes everything in C1. That's how it's currently written. So that's why I included the 4 pages so that you could see C1 and C2 on the 4 pages. And that a can redemption is considered like retail. It's just not one listed, like, for example, ballroom dance hall, bath massage parlor, bicycle sale, bowling alley. As you can see, all of them listed there. You're not going to be able to get every single possibility. A newsstand, a nightclub, a notion, a pet shop, a post office, substation, a printing, repair. It's basically saying we don't have specifically can redemption listed, but it meets the requirement of like the light zoning area. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, just maybe for a little clarification too on
Yes,
if I
please.
can really generalize, we have 2 different commercial zoning districts. There's C1 and C2. And the difference really is C2 is set up, intended really for a central business district, a downtown type of area. So the setbacks are much smaller. The required minimum lot frontages are smaller. Things that you typically see within a downtown area, central business district type area. So although the same type of uses are permitted, I think there's probably a different standard applied if you're considering like a special use permit, or, which I don't think is what we're talking about here. That would be a zoning decision. We're talking about whether or not it meets the intent of the zoning.
Well, I mean, you took time and went and looked at other communities downtown districts and what we could do to bring ours back to life, and I don't know if this fits that bill. I think the Ballwood shop definitely is, I would consider that light industrial. Nobody seemed to mind that going in there as a C2, so, or whatever that is right there, C2, I'm assuming, so. But as far as like, yeah, changing the door to a garage door, I mean, I would have reservations to that.
Yeah, that's not part of this.
No, it isn't, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think it would make sense for them to come and talk to us about it, but what their plans were.
Well, would this have to be passed in a resolution anyway? To change that zone from C1 to C2?
It's
We're
not,
changing.
No, we're
the
not
request is
changing
not
I'm
to
just
change.
adding it.
It's just in our ordinance, it says, so
Okay.
because it's not specifically listed, it says any use which is found by the council to be a use similar to one of the above named uses
Okay.
or conforms to the intent of this section, and can distribution center is not illicitly mentioned.
Right, so I believe it's just a simple motion that the council considers that yes, you would agree that it is a named use and conforms to the intent of that section of the ordinance.
Then I'll go planning zone
Or we'll have to go to planning zone.
for sure.
I think so. I'd have to look and read through it all again, if it goes to the building inspector and then planning and zoning.
For what?
He said, so after we motion this, then it should probably go to planning and zoning, or does it go? So no, what I wanna say is, there has been no official, building permit sent back to us yet about the garage door, but I know the person may have mentioned that to other people. So that's why I wanted to be clear that that comes at the next step, and that would either be,
I don't believe that there's any action needed by the planning and zoning commission.
I think it's just the building.
If they were
permit.
requesting a change of zoning, then yes, but that's not what's being requested.
You
So
know,
basically it would be, I think, if I'm understanding Jerry's email, it would be that the garage door may not get the permit and they may have to look at an alternate way to make that work for a can redemption.
I mean,
Because they've also talked about like changing something with the sidewalk and,
the reservation I have is, and why I think it probably falls more on the light industrial, is the noise. Cans and bottles clanging and crunching all day there, potentially, would be a disturbance downtown to customers, business goers. There's a place for sale right next door that is being marketed as a home. So, or potentially a one-bedroom home, the whole bank building. So, that's a lot. I mean, to me, that's pretty disruptive. I don't know how much traffic they would get with as far as cans moving and climbing through there, especially if you have the door open all day or some sort of wide open space. I don't know. That would be my concern, is just the noise level that it would bring down there. And then how often the truck's gonna come down and back up and create traffic flow problems out front. That's where it feels more like an industrial type of setup than a commercial, specifically a business district, but that's my take.
You know, when I was reading through, I mean, it feels more industrial to me as well. It's not necessarily, like when I was reading through the list, those lists are typically, it says that they're selling something. I have reservations as well.
So we'll list this B, click stop memo.
Okay, so I shared a memo, with all of you. There's been a couple reports, still fairly new in the position, but, so in typically May, before May, I work on gathering, March TIF receipts, rebate information, property tax information from anyone that has a TIF rebate. So this year, in May, I met with, Maggie Berger from Spear Financial, who, as you know, is our financial advisor. And she took me through the tax valuation process for how calculating TIF works. I think I shared that back in May or June with all of you, because the development agreement with ClickStop, I think we call it ClickStop number 3. The development agreement was, I think, put out in October of 2015. And I included some information on here. That particular tax rebate in the development agreement was written, and it was a rebate for 75% of the tax property revenue that would be rebated back to ClickStop and would not exceed the $608,750. I started analyzing the ClickStop, and when I reached out to Maggie, I asked Maggie, because obviously we had, I think it was $51,000 that was budgeted for the ClickStop rebate, which would have been for, paid out to ClickStop in June of 2024. I noticed then that in our budget that had been created for the past 3 years, that same number was carried over 3 years in a row. I reached out to Maggie because after going through the tax valuation process with her, I didn't understand how we could possibly get the same number in the budget and the same number 3 years in a row. And she said that's not possible because they wouldn't have paid the exact same taxes. So I wanted to analyze this deeper, obviously, because any kind of TIF rebate impacts our budget, it impacts what our person is rebated, but it also then impacts the TIF indebtedness report that is submitted to the Benton County Auditor every year, which then impacts the urban renewal report that is also submitted then to the Department of Management. None of these particular documents were lining up for me. I wanted to be very clear, number one, that I understood the process before reaching out to ClickStop and sharing any information with any of you or publicly. So through my analysis, after gathering all the receipts from ClickStop, gathering all the ledger receipts from Benton County, I realized last year that the $51,000 that we had in our budget for ClickStop was not enough to meet the actual requirement. Because during that process in May of 2024, our financial office has very specific spreadsheets that are created in their office, but also at a state level. And that's where calculating TIF, someone cannot just go to the Benton County Beacon, for example, and see what ClickStop pays for property tax, and then think that they can figure out from that what our rebates would be to them. Does not work that way. It's actually a very comprehensive formula that's put together, and then from that, dollars get put back into Benton County, and it's pretty comprehensive. So you can imagine my feeling of there's a lot of things not lining up, and I needed to go research further into why some of this wasn't adding up. So I also then took everything from our general ledger back to 2013. So I took everything that we had collected from ClickStop and what we had paid ClickStop from back in 2013. After analyzing the actual receipts from fiscal year 19 through fiscal year of 2024, I have some detailed findings that not only impact ClickStop, but also impact the budget here, in addition to reports that have been submitted to not only Benton County, but to the state. I found first that ClickStop actually did not receive their fiscal year 2022 TIF rebate payment. So the dollars would have been collected, and they're obviously still in our cash account, they're still in our TIF account, but ClickStop actually was not physically given the payment. The payment that is owed to ClickStop for the FY 2022 TIF rebate is $68,838.08, which is all shared with you. So last year, when I realized that the budget had only $51,000, but the payment was going to be, I think it was $71,000, we did a budget amendment to reflect the difference. So obviously, for this purpose, this will be listed on a budget transfer and amendment that will be coming up hopefully here for February. The next piece that I found was ClickStop was underpaid during the fiscal year of 23 for their TIF rebate. The city owes ClickStop $14,876.33. Again, the same amount, which was $50-some thousand. They were shorted because that was not the actual amount owed to them. So we owe them the $14,876.33. So this will also be included in the budget transfer that you will see, and an amendment coming up in February is when I hope to have it, which an amendment comes with a public hearing. Based on the tax valuation, and of course, since we would have done the budget in March and then certified in April, and because I didn't have this information then, I had to go by what was already in there, which was that $51,000. The ClickStop TIF rebate that's owed for June of 2025 is $103,213.69. This too will be reflected in a budget transfer and an amendment that will come up here in February. Total, you would think I would put that right here on my memo. 181,000 something will be the total. So what I want to reassure you is the dollars were collected in the TIF. Those dollars were requested and collected in the TIF. That TIF was reported. It was just reported incorrectly on the TIF indebtedness. So this does not carry over into another fiscal year and create another nightmare for fiscal year 25. My recommendation, which is based on recommendation with Maggie in December after the auditors were here. The week they were here, obviously I told them immediately that I had found that the TIF indebtedness report that was submitted, the urban renewal report that was submitted, will not match what they will see in the audit in the papers that they collected. Very open with them about that. I also told them that after they were leaving site, so they're on site for 3 days. Prior to that, they do 2 weeks of gathering all the data, which is a ton of work, and it's all put into a private shared folder so that they can analyze as much documentation as they can off-site. Totally makes sense in this technology era. With that being said, I did let them know that when they left site, that's not when the audit ends. They continue to request documents, it's just that they're only on site for the 3 days they could be here. The following week, I had a meeting scheduled with Maggie Berger and Haley Ripple from the auditor's office. That meeting took over 3 hours for the 3 of us to go through and correct what needs to be refiled at the Benton County level for the TIF indebtedness, what also needs to be amended then for the urban renewal, and that this can be paid out to ClickStop prior to June. So after we do the budget amendment, after we do the transfers, like I said, the dollars are all there. I want to be very clear, the dollars are there. There is not missing money, the dollars are there. The process of going about it was not done correctly. Again, that was prior to me coming with the city of Urbana, but I wanted to be able to explain this very thoroughly because it could likely, obviously, show up as an item on the audit, which will be coming out. But I also wanted to be very clear because I've had conversations with Quickstop. They were totally understanding. They were very willing to share items with me that I requested, and I let them know my findings immediately when I sent all of you the memo. Now that I know the direction that we can do our budget amendment here for February, I wanted to make sure to share all of this with you. Again, there's no missing money, but how it was budgeted and the process that should have taken place was very different. So I wanted to make sure that that was shared tonight.
How long is this number three? I forget on the, is this one a lot?
This one is done after June
This one the last
2025.
one.
Yep, this will be the last payment. So I apologize for that. It's long-winded, but I just wanted to make sure. And if you guys have any questions, I've shared most of this with Gary on an ongoing basis, and I've tried to update you all via email. I know Shane probably had not received that. That would be prior to him coming on, but I think it's good to have the explanation because that will be obviously paid out here soon, and the public should know that too.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you. Hey, Mayor, Glenn's here. You didn't have an agenda.
So I believe, Gary and I talked about that. It was initially on the memo for the Lions Club.
Okay.
And then I believe that that's going to now go to our budget meeting that's coming up.
Yeah.
So I already shared the memo from Gwen. I had a conversation with Gwen. I apologize that she still came, but hopefully one of the 2 dates coming up will work for her. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, we'll move on to item E. Consider resolution 2025-84 to set a date for the city of Urbana, Iowa special election.
Okay, so I just want to run through this really fast. 2025-84, Gary and I have been working very closely with Benton County Auditor's Office. Obviously, I wanted to be very detailed in the resolution of the process that's happened because like Gina said, it's a little confusing possibly to people because we did have 2 resignations that came in and the time frame in which that came in. The city did not want to file this during the week with the holidays because once we filed the petition, we're put on a deadline. And we didn't want people to not be able to turn in paperwork because maybe they're out of town or they were traveling. So I know you guys, did I send this to you today or yesterday when I got it back? Yesterday or today? Was it today? So anyway, I just wanted to put that out here that the resolution will be saved. I don't know if it's on the website actually with all of this because we did just get it back in a short time, but very clear that Armin Martin's resignation, a term will end December 31, 2025. Shane Light has been placed in that position. At the same time, around Shelley Lala resigned her position on November 27. Her term date does not end until December 31st, 2027. So these are the things that Gina was saying will be very clear when that has to be placed on the ballot. The special election is, I would like to propose in the resolution, Gary and I thought,
November 25th.
thank you, Tuesday, February 25th.
February 25th, yeah.
Tuesday, February 25th to hold the special election. And basically, hopefully tomorrow, we will file the petition with the Benton County office so that there will be hopefully a good amount of time there that patrons will have to be able to submit paperwork, get it in, and hopefully all of that cooperates. So this resolution is for a special election on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025.
Motion approved.
Second.
Been approved and second for resolution 2025-84. Still vote. Councilperson Vasky.
Yes.
Councilperson Bendel.
Yes.
Councilperson White.
Yes.
Councilperson Holdoff.
Yes.
Motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.